You've been there, settling in for an evening of TV only to waste half the night scrolling. Enter Fire TV, entertainment with zero effort required. Fire TV serves up personalized recommendations from across all your apps. Not sure what to watch? Just tell Alexa Plus what you're in the mood for and she'll pull up the perfect recommendation. Problem solved. Stop the scroll, start the show. Find what you're looking for with Fire TV. Subscriptions may be required.
Ugh, you said you were over him, but his hoodie is still in your rotation. It's time. Grab your phone, snap a few pics, and sell it on Depop. Listed in minutes, with no selling fees. And just like that, a guy 500 miles away just paid full price for your closure. And right on cue.
Hey, still got my hoodie?
Nope, but I've got tonight's dinner paid for. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste. List now with no selling fees. Payment processing fees and boosting fees still apply. See website for details.
Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. It is so good to be back. We are back on a timely release schedule, and we have some news to catch up on, but we also have our favorite games from GDC to talk about. And you know what they have at GDC? A whole lot of cool indie games. And you know that when we are talking indies, there is one person I look forward to bringing on the show, and that is former Game Informer editor and founder of the Indie Informer. It's Jill Grodt. Jill, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I love that whenever you introduce it, you get a little grander with my title. So, like, eventually I'm just going to be like Empress or like...
God Emperor Jill Grodt.
That's always the way it's been, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm so happy that you're able to join me. I know we ran into each other at an event out in GDC, which is held in San Francisco, which is where you live, correct?
Yeah, right in my backyard. So it's so nice to be able to go to an event and then come back and have like a home-cooked meal and sleep in your own bed. There's really nothing like it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just grabbed I think Jack in the Box on the way back to my hotel after when I saw you.
It is one of the best cities for food, Brian Shea, and you grabbed Jack in the Box.
Hey, I was tired. I mean, there's. I think I need to get a better lay of the land when it comes to like the food in San Francisco, because I was staying in Union Square. There were a couple of really great takeout spots. I got amazing tacos to go. I got some really good pizza, surprisingly.
I've got a ramen place for you next time you're in.
Is it Ippudo?
Yes, it is, of course.
I did not go to it, but I wanted to.
Shay.
I also wanted to go to Nippon Curry, which I've heard is incredible, but it was like all the way on the other side, and I had to bump my flight up by 12 hours because of the blizzard.
Madman.
Because the blizzard. So I was supposed to fly back to Minnesota Saturday at noon. Mm-hmm. I bumped it up to Friday night at midnight because there was a blizzard coming that we were going to get. It was forecasted 12 to 18 inches. It ended up being just 12 inches.
Right. But hear me.
Still pretty rough.
Oh, no, a blizzard. I have to stay in San Francisco longer.
I came straight from a vacation, so I was just ready to be home because I was already away for like a half a week, and then I was in San Francisco for another week. So it was one of those where I was just like, I'm having a great time. But then all the people that I knew were going to be leaving, and also I was exhausted. So I was ready to be home.
Yeah.
And also I wouldn't have a hotel if I had to stay longer.
Just what can they do? They can't kick you out. No.
Squatters' rights.
I think it's one of the things that's hardest to explain to people, like how incredibly exhausting an event like this can be, because on one hand it's like one of the most exhilarating, like electrifying, energizing things, but you're running through that energy, and by the end of the week I was not okay. I was physically not okay with everything that I had done, but
it took
mostly
me
my fault.
A full 48 hours after I got back. And I mean, to be fair, I flew a red eye and I don't sleep well on planes. But it took me a full 48 hours once I got back. Like I got back Saturday morning at like 6 a.m. And then I was just useless all day Saturday. And then most of Sunday, I was just like a slug.
I was gonna be productive that weekend. And I literally slept the whole weekend.
Famous last words. But yeah, there were definitely times where I had to run literally a mile across town, like, because the taxis and the Ubers in San Francisco are usually slower than it takes for you to
Yeah.
walk there.
100%. And even if it looks like it's close, it could be entirely uphill. So
Exactly, yeah. So I think I took like one Uber the entire time I was in San Francisco, and I was like, no, I'm just going to walk everywhere. But
yeah.
my body was not happy about that. But we're not here to talk about walking through San Francisco.
What are we here to talk about,
We're
Brian?
here to talk about all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo, and we're going to kick it off with some news. But Jill, before we do that, obviously, we look towards you for your indie expertise. And, you know, even before you left Game Informer to found the Indie Informer, we knew you as the guru for everything indie.
No, I mean,
And
that's why it's called the Indie Informer, because that's the nickname I had at Game Informer.
yes, exactly. So, you know, but since we always have you on to talk indies, a lot of the news today is going to be focused actually on some AAA games
Okay.
and some video game movies, actually. But it got me thinking, do you actually even have time to play any AAA games these days?
No. And the funny thing is, a lot of the time those become my, like, when I have time for fun games, which I don't have any time anymore. So it's like, oh, I'll play this because it's no longer a work game. Like all my indie games that I like love so much. It's like there's some element of it that is, this is for work, this is for content. My brain is always on. So if I do stop by and try to jump into something else, it's usually like, what's going on? Pokopia?
Pokopia.
What's going on there? What's happening?
Have you jumped into that?
I mean, I was sick when it first dropped, and I was like, this seems like a really good sick game. So I played for the first, I met all the starters, and that was about it. And I haven't had time to play since because I've got so many games that I not only need to be playing for right now, but there are games that came out earlier that because I've been at GDC, because I'm headed out to PAX, like I just haven't had the time. So I'm like, there are amazing games I need to be playing right now. I don't have time for looking like a silly little Pokemon.
You always have time for looking like a silly little Pokemon. So before Pokopia, what was the last AAA game you actually spent like a decent chunk of hours? We'll say 5 or more hours with.
A decent chunk of time. It might be Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, wow. Like back when it first came out?
Yeah.
So it's been almost been almost 3 years?
Yeah, it's been a really long time. I legitimately just do not like Brian J, you don't understand.
I do understand. That's why I was like, do you even play AAA games? Because I see how much you cover indie games, and I know how time intensive that is.
Yeah, and it's so much fun, and it's like it's such, this, of course, being in the space that we are in, doing the thing you love as a job is dangerous because you are doing it all the time. So any game that comes out, like before I started doing indies exclusively, they were something I was really interested in. So it's just like, that's what my brain draws me to. So it's so dangerous. I'll be like, oh, there's a new game that's an indie. I got to check this out. And then I'm suddenly doing it for work.
So, I mean, it's like that old saying. It's like, do what you love for work and you'll never work a day in your life. It's like, do what you love for work and you will drive yourself into the ground and burn yourself out and never recover is more like it. But
that's why it's important to take vacations.
Yes, exactly. Like, and this is not me complaining because I adore my job, and Jill, you adore what you do.
100%.
So it's just like, man, I think the problem is we adore it too much and we care too much, and we end up working ourselves to the bone to make it happen. But it's not like we are doing much more difficult jobs. So there are definitely
I've done real jobs in the past. It's not comparable,
Yeah, I mean, I have worked jobs I've loved and I've worked jobs I've hated. I've worked a lot more jobs that I've hated than I've loved. It's pretty much just like 2 jobs in my life that I've loved, and Game Informer is one of them. So I really have no place to complain, but you do definitely end up working a lot more than you would expect when you get invested.
Everybody watching this video, please down below comment what you think the other job is. The answer might surprise you.
You don't even know what the answer is. But we're going to jump over to the news, Jill. But before we do that, a reminder that this show is brought to you by the fine folks who support all things Nintendo over on Patreon. Without them, this show literally would not exist. You can get access to the community Discord for as little as $3 a month. We're over there talking Nintendo, the latest gaming news, and showing off our collectibles all day long. But there are also $5 and $10 tiers to get you things like early and ad-free episodes, plus shout-outs at the end of every show. Plus, we're kind of, before I went on vacation, I started ruminating on what could possibly be an additional $10 tier perk. So if you want to join the Patreon, you can go over there and make your voice heard of what would make you consider joining that $10 tier. There's a comment or a thread that you can comment on over on the Patreon. So you can join the team that makes this show happen by going to patreon.com and searching for either Brian Shea or All Things Nintendo. It's only because of those people who support this podcast on Patreon that I'm able to keep doing this week after week as an independent entity. All right, Jill. So we have some news, and the first two pieces of news here are based on, I would say, maybe the two most prominent video game movie franchises that are going right now. The first of which I think should be no surprise, given this is the All Things Nintendo podcast. That is the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And we got a new trailer.
And we got a whole new trailer.
The final trailer, they're calling it. So, basically as soon as I recorded the Zelda episode for last week, we got this final trailer. And it's one of those situations where I think I'm just ready for this movie to come out at this point. Mm-hmm. I've seen everything I need to see. And I'm just excited to get my butt in a seat and look at a giant screen for, what is it, an hour and a half? I think it's an hour and 38 minutes or something, which is a lot longer than most of these video game adaptations. Yep. So I guess in that sense, mission accomplished to the marketing team over at Universal. So looking at this trailer specifically, we get a lot of actual galaxy specific elements on this one. We get the attack on Peach's castle, which looks like it results in it being lifted into space. And Bowser Jr., who's not really a major player in Galaxy, but then we see Bowser back to full size. We also see oddly enough, after we get all this Galaxy imagery, it's a bunch of Super Mario Brothers USA imagery. So Mario 2 from the US. So we got Wart, who we never have really heard from since, and presumably was just a figment of Mario's imagination, if you want to go canonically. But yeah, Wart's back. He's great. Yeah. Also lots of enemies from Mario 2. Normally we just get Shy Guy when it comes to Mario 2. We got Ninjas, we got Birdo, all kinds of different enemies from Mario 2. Which is really cool to see, because it always feels like the stepchild, where it's yeah, Mario 1, Mario 3, Mario World. We'll get stuff from that. Obviously, we're getting Yoshi in this one, which is a Mario World reference. But the trailer ends with this rapid fire collection of appearances and scenes from different games. So we saw the dinosaur from Mario Odyssey. We see the Mario blasting off into space riding Yoshi, which is a direct homage to Mario Galaxy 2. We also learned that Luis Guzman is providing the voice of Wart. Issa Rae is playing the Honey Queen, and Childish Gambino himself, Donald Glover, is playing Yoshi.
Yeah.
It's one of the wildest castings, but he's a big gamer, so it would be cool to, see him jump into this. And also during the direct, we got some buddy comedy, buddy skits, I guess we could say, between I guess it was Chris Pratt and Charlie Day. We got Anya Taylor-Joy and Keegan-Michael Key. I guess we had to have the people with three names
together
on that one. And then we got Brie Larson in the most wholesome moment of the direct, where she is just nerding out because she's oh yeah, I used to play Mario Galaxy all the time, and now I'm playing Rosalina, and she just seems so genuinely happy that she is playing a main character in a Mario movie, and let alone Rosalina, which it seems I saw a quote from her that was she, back when it was a 2020 quote, and she was yeah, back when Mario Galaxy first came out, I like kicked my boyfriend at the time out of the house because I just wanted to focus on the game. So she's like a diehard gamer, and she's all, we've seen her go like as Samus in Halloween and stuff like that. So like she is absolutely like 100% built for this. But Jill, this is hitting theaters on April 1st. And, you know, I imagine right around now is when people are starting to kind of rewatch the first movie and like refamiliarize themselves with this take on Mario. Where does this movie, I'm presuming you've seen it, rank for you among like all video game adaptations?
I mean, I think it's a very hard. I mean, it's between probably this and like The Last of Us. Like, and that's a wild thing to say to compare
Very
the
similar
two.
things to talk about.
Yeah. And even just the treatment of them and and the tone of both. Like, it's a little easier, I think, if you are adapting something that is super dramatic and super has all of these connections already and ready to go, and you can kind of see the cinematography, and you can have these kind of virtuoso performances. When you look at Mario, it's just a little man. It's just a little man jumping around. Like, he's not. His motivations are not widely known.
What's he up to?
You gotta do, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I want to see in this next movie is actually Mario, bad guy. No one saw it coming.
What a twist.
Absolutely. Like, Bowser finally realized, like, him and Bowser and Princess Peach finally come together and be like, hey, we've been trying to kind of get away from you.
We've been trying to
like,
get rid
I
of
wasn't
Mario.
I wasn't being kidnapped. Like, you just weren't getting a hint. No, but like, they did very well in the first movie, so there's no reason to think that the second movie isn't also going to be this product of understanding and love, and all the casting seems to be pointing that way. Also, if I were a celebrity, that's the number one thing I would be a celebrity for, is just to be in these sorts of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna slip in and be Yoshi, no problem. Like, that's what I would live for.
Yeah, that would be such a great thing, especially as, you know, somebody who grew up playing Mario World, like being able to voice Yoshi. I'm sure I could do a Yoshi voice. I'm not going to right now because I don't want to, but
Yeah.
Trust me, I have a very good Yoshi voice.
Hot take to throw out there, but Yoshi's Island, one of the best, if not my favorite of the Marios.
Oh, and you consider it a Mario game. That's also
I
a
do,
hot take.
because it is a colon Yoshi's Island. It is Super Mario World colon.
But only in the US. Or at least only in the
I
West.
live in the US and there's nothing else besides us.
Though, to be fair, both Miyamoto and Tezuka have confirmed that it is a Mario game to Game Informer. So we've got that locked down. So I know that there are people who disagree wholeheartedly, and I understand their perspective as well.
No, we don't. Don't lie.
You're coming out swinging this episode.
You're
ready to fight.
You know, I'm ready. It's hot out here. I'm ready to have some hot takes.
So speaking of video game movies, we also got a teaser for Sonic the Hedgehog 4, which is set to come in theaters just about a year from now. This little tiny teaser video, it doesn't really feature any new footage. I believe it's all like repurposed footage from past movies, but it actually has Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik delivering a message to Sonic. And while that's happening, we see all the individual Chaos Emeralds flying at the screen. And the inside the emeralds are like reflections of the different characters. And interestingly enough, there is a musical motif from his world, which was from Sonic 06.
Okay.
And, you know, that's a very weird game to call back to, seeing as how that's like, I feel like Sega has done everything in their power to make people try to forget about that game. That said, his world is a very well-liked song. My theory here is that since it seems like they're doing kind of like a time travel or like multiple timeline type of story, the three main games that come to mind in the Sonic franchise that have done time travel are Sonic CD, Sonic 06, and Sonic Generations. And of those games, I think that the most recognizable singular track, even if the game is terrible, is Sonic 06 with his world. So it makes sense that they would call back to that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that means we're going to get Silver in this. We haven't heard the full list of characters that are going to be in this, but he's a time traveling character, so it would make sense. We already know we're getting Amy, and it appears that they've confirmed further that we're getting Metal Sonic through this teaser. I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a needle drop for the song Sonic Boom from Sonic CD at some point, because that's another very well-liked song from a game that's all about, like, you know, jumping between timelines. On top of that, we also at the same time got a Variety article sharing that Sir Ben Kingsley, who won the Academy Award for Best Actor in 1982 for his portrayal of Mahatma Gandhi in the movie Gandhi, is joining the voice cast. Voice cast is what they specifically say. So I wonder, he might be Metal Sonic. I don't know who he could be.
I mean, let's not forget that he has been in the MCU, most recently petting a imaginary or not creature with no body and wings.
Actually, most recently, he was in Wonder Man, where he played an actor struggling to re-enter the industry. That was January of this year, I think.
Time. What does it mean?
But yeah, he was in Shang-Chi. He was in Iron Man 3. If you have seen those movies, if you're not familiar with Gandhi, maybe you're familiar with Iron Man 3. Very similar movies.
Yeah. Big crowds, same difference. Venn diagram, almost a circle.
Exactly. We also are getting Nick Offerman. Okay. Known for his portrayal of Ron Swanson in Parks and Recreation, which is interesting to note that one of his breakout roles, Ben Schwartz, who plays Sonic, one of his breakout roles was in Parks and Rec. So there is a world where we could get a reference to that somewhere, because actually Sonic made a Parks and Rec reference, a Jean-Ralphio reference in Sonic 2.
I love it.
So there's that awareness, and how do you not, when you have two of the most recognizable characters from that show in the voice cast?
Also, Nick Offerman in The Last of Us.
Yes, incredible episode.
And we just talked about The Last of Us, so the signs are also pointing.
Yeah, and you brought it up, not me. So you didn't even know the outline.
Or do I?
Oh, well, that's scary.
What if I know more than I know?
So alongside that news, Variety also published the full cast list as of now. And I was reading this and I'm like, what happened here where we have this insane cast for a Sonic the Hedgehog movie? When I was a kid, I had a dream, legitimately a dream, where I went to sleep, and during that time that I was rendered unconscious, I had a dream that there was going to be a theatrical Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I was 10 years old probably. And I remember waking up and being so sad, because I was like, that's never going to happen. That's really sad. There's never going to be a Sonic movie. Fast forward, I guess it would be 23 years later, and there's a Sonic movie. Yeah. And I go and see it. And, it's not bad. It has a lot of heart. It's obviously made for kids at the time. The first one is. But it has a lot of heart, and they get the character right, and they obviously fixed the character model of Sonic after that terrible first trailer. And I love Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is one of my favorite comedic actors of all time. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I like James Marsden. I think James Marsden is awesome, and Tika Sumpter is great. And that was a good cast, right? And then they slowly start building it up. They get Idris Elba for Sonic 2, Keanu Reeves in Sonic 3, and now Sonic 4. Here's the full cast as listed by Variety.
I'm ready.
Jim Carrey, which means, Dr. Robotnik officially coming back for another time after he said he was retiring from Hollywood a long time ago.
Nope.
Unless an angel delivers him a script plated in gold, I think is the way he phrased it.
It's gotta be Sonic 4.
It was Sonic 3 that brought him back, apparently. And that was one of the funniest Wikipedia entries of all time. It was in 2022, Jim Carrey said, "I'm done with acting unless an angel delivers a gold-plated script to me on a platter of gold," or something like that. And it was 3 months later, Carrey signed on to reprise his role as Dr. Robotnik in Sonic 3. And I'm like, that is perfect. So Jim Carrey, Ben Schwartz, obviously, Kristen Bell, we learned about her a few weeks ago, playing Amy Rose.
Yep.
Idris Elba back as Knuckles. Keanu Reeves, yes, that means Shadow is back. James Marsden, Tika Sumpter, Ben Kingsley, as we just said, Matt Berry, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who plays Tails.
Matt Berry's good.
I'm so glad Colleen O'Shaughnessy, just for some reason, the only A-list or celebrity basically playing one of the main characters, but she's so perfect as Tails. So it's I'm glad that they brought her on. Lee Majjoub, who plays kind of Dr. Robotnik's right-hand man. Nick Offerman, we don't know who he's playing, and then Richard Ayoade. So I don't know who he's playing.
Who is he playing? Who? The chili dog.
The chili dog.
Yes.
Let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe Silver. What is he in the Sonic? Let's see.
What
Is
has he
he in?
accidentally said anything? That's what these
I'm looking it
celebrities
up
are good for
now.
because they're not used to how serious and how secretive our industry is. So sometimes they tend to just say, "Oh yeah, and I'm in this project as something."
No, it looks like he is not. It was just revealed today as we're recording this. So, but yeah, oddly enough, no Adam Pally listed in this article, who plays Wade, who is really the main character of the Knuckles series on Paramount Plus, but he was also in all the other 3 movies. So kind of surprising there. But I mean, maybe he'll be in it still. But man, what a cast! What a
Well,
crazy cast of.
what would 10-year-old you've woken up from this dream, you're heartbroken, it's never going to happen. You currently go back in time, you talk to him
Oh,
at that
time
moment.
travel, just like Sonic 4.
Yeah. How does 10-year-old Brian Shea react to this cast?
He would probably say, wow, there are 4 live action Sonic movies. And then also, who are any of these people?
Any of
Because I don't
these
think any of
people.
them were famous except for Ben Kingsley and Keanu Reeves.
Trying to. Yeah, you're probably right. And we were kids. We didn't have any good
Yeah.
references anyway.
I think Ben Schwartz was probably a child still at that point as well. So
Yep.
it'd be very strange. I'd probably say, why
Strangely,
is
go back
Jaleel White not voicing him?
Go back in time to Ben Schwartz when he's having the exact same dream.
Well, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 set to arrive in theaters just under 1 year from now on March 19th, 2027. Jill, have you seen all the Sonic movies?
I haven't. I think I've seen bits and pieces of 3.
Okay, well, you have a weekend coming up. No time like the
Yeah,
present to just.
nothing else to do in that
Also, you have a
weekend at all.
flight. You have a cross-country flight coming up. Do you have a tablet or a laptop that you could load up some movies onto for your flight?
Yes,
That you could get
Brian
through 2
Shea,
Sonic movies.
That is the only thing I have to think about as I go cross country, just to watch all of the Sonic movies. There's
what
nothing
else is more important than that?
in my life.
Look, you're going to PAX East. Coming back, I understand. You have work to do then.
No. Oh my God. No. I'm going to tell everybody that Shay said I couldn't. I have to watch all of these Sonic movies before.
Exactly.
I've got until next year. I'm good.
Shirk all of your other abilities or all of your other obligations. God, I can't talk tonight. That's really good for a podcast when you can't find the right word.
Words are hard.
Words are hard. Speaking of words, you know what have words? Books.
What has words? Books have words.
Books have words.
Yeah.
And you know who reads books apparently based on the name of this game? Yoshi and the Mysterious Book is a new game that I feel like we haven't talked a whole lot about since it was like originally announced back in September.
Mm-hmm.
But we got a new trailer showing off some of the gameplay mechanics, and it's focused on I guess different creatures that you're going to come across in the game. And it looks like one of the main mechanics is this encyclopedia or Pokédex kind of system where when you're going through the levels, you find creatures and you log them and learn their various traits. And you fill out the book, and it looks like initially kind of like this fun little side mission, but then it also looks like your main story progression is tied to your discoveries, because every trait you discover of each individual creature adds to your star count, and then your star count is when you can go to the next chapter. So it's so you not only go through the levels, but what was that?
Knowledge is power.
Exactly. So that's what they're playing off of here. And, the game still looks really beautiful, but I'm not fully sure how this gameplay is going to work even after watching this trailer. Cause it looks less kind of in the style of Yoshi's Woolly World or Yoshi's Crafted World, but it does look like there are a lot of different gimmicks and platforming opportunities. So that's kind of exciting for me, but I just think I need to see more of give me one level played through from start to finish and just give me a sense of what this game is going to be, because we had a kind of a quick sizzle reel at the end of all these different gimmicks where Yoshi's gliding and he's doing all these different things. So that was one of the key elements of Woolly World and Crafted World was every level basically had a different gimmick, and I hope they carry that through because they get really clever with that. But Jill, you talked about Yoshi's Island being one of the best Mario games. Have you played any of the other Yoshi games? So there's Yoshi's New Island, the DS version, I think it's just called Yoshi's Island DS. Crafted World, Woolly World, Yoshi's Story on N64. Any of those a favorite of yours?
I've played all of them. I have to like there's nothing that touches Yoshi's Island. Like anything, I don't know if it's just nostalgia or if it is setting something in my mind, but like I can go back and play the original, and I enjoy it better than some of the revamped versions. I love that we're seeing this sort of branching out and innovation, because I feel like Yoshi and some of these other sort of slightly side characters, when they get games that have new innovations and new sort of things they're playing around, if they get really popular, they can start to be introduced into sort of mainline games. So I really like seeing that Nintendo sort of playing around here and asking, what can we do? What are people into? What can we take from other things? Like, I think, I know that I'm the indie person, and it's sort of like when you're a hammer, all you see is nails. But like, I love the idea that people are seeing indies in this AAA space and being like, hey, innovation is really going somewhere with people. Maybe we should try some of this changing stuff, because the indie space is so inspired by the Mario and Nintendo IPs in general. So seeing a lot of them do stuff that people are really interested in, and kind of coming back and saying like, hey, maybe we try some of this stuff out. So like, we're getting some really cool new Nintendo in general IP with like really interesting, like, I don't know if you've gotten into the whole Pokopia. I can never say it correctly. And like the Pal World connections there, and like what might be fueling some of the ideas here. But I mean, I think we might be seeing the same thing here with Yoshi. And then if it's like, obviously Pokopia is taking off. People are loving it. So we're getting all this good feedback. I'm hoping we see more of these really weird things that are just spiraling out.
And we're going to be talking more about Pokopia in just a second, actually, because that's our next news item. But is Yoshi, do you think Mario or Zelda or Yoshi is like your favorite AAA franchise? Or is there something else that comes to mind? Just to circle back to that initial topic that we had.
I think Zelda, and specifically another hot take, my favorite Zelda is Majora's Mask.
Wow. I mean, that's not that hot of a take. It's not my pick. But
it's the weirdo. It's the weirdo one. Like,
if you were like Triforce Heroes is the best Zelda game, then I would say like we might have a problem.
There's a question there. But like, yeah, I liked all of the kind of weirdo stuff about that, and probably leads to future Jill enjoying all these weirdo indies. But yeah, no, I think I grew up with Nintendo. Nintendo was my console for a very, very long time. I think until like middle school, when I finally got a PlayStation. So it was like a big chunk of my childhood and formative years.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was basically how I got into it as well. But Yoshi and the Mysterious Book arrives just in time for everyone to have seen the Mario Galaxy movie, which is introducing Yoshi, just the same way they did Mario vs. Donkey Kong right around the time that the Super Mario Brothers movie came out, and they did Princess Peach Showtime later on, and those were like main releases for Nintendo that year. The Mario Galaxy movie comes out April 1st. You'll be able to buy Yoshi and the Mysterious Book on May 21st. So you'll still hopefully be, at least hopefully from Nintendo's perspective, be riding that high of seeing Childish Gambino voicing Yoshi, and then go over to the gaming space and be able to control Yoshi. So
When you want your spring break to feel like and your kids' pool day to feel like and your hotel bed to feel like and room service to feel like, because at Hilton, hospitality feels like
your cabana's ready. Would you like fresh towels?
it matters where you stay. Book now at Hilton.com. Hilton, for the stay.
So there you go. All right, Pokemon Pokopia, a game that's come up a couple of times here already on this episode. It was the topic of this very show 2 weeks ago. And I think by now, many of the folks listening to this podcast have checked it out for themselves. And how do I know that? Because it has sold extremely well. In addition to the news stories hitting that the game was basically sold out across most retailers during its launch weekend, they also announced that within the first 4 days of release, it sold enough to outsell other big Switch 2 games to this day, like Kirby Air Riders and Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. The number they gave was 2.2 million copies in just its first 4 days, making it the 4th best-selling Nintendo Switch 2 game just 4 days into its life. The only games it's behind are Pokemon Legends ZA, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Mario Kart World. So you said you've just dipped your toe into Pokopia. Does it have the promise? Is it something that you are looking forward to, like actually putting real time into? Because I still can't put it down, even though I've finished my review 2 weeks ago. I'm still logging on almost every day.
I think it is so clever to give people what they obviously have wanted. There is a very large group of fans for survival and building kind of games, and we haven't seen a lot of that space in any real Nintendo property. So kind of playing around with that. I was sick, so perhaps my critical faculties were off, but I think that it's interesting. It is so much more sandbox open to what you want to do, rather than some of the survival games that I'm a big fan of just like really pointing you in a direction to like, go do this, go do that. And I wonder if that's just because they're new to the space, or if that is intentional because it's supposed to be a very light, very like, they're not trying to put a lot on you at this, while you're playing this game. It's supposed to be kind of like sit back and relax and don't get too into it, even though by its very nature, it's very hard not to get very into it, because it is a perfect instance of, but maybe just look right around this corner and then I'll be done. And then
100%. I get so sucked into it where I'm just like, all right, I'm going to jump on, like complete this building, kick off another building so I can log on tomorrow. And then before I know it, 2.5 hours have passed. And I'm like, what happened? Like, I was just like, I'll go do this for a second. I'll go do that. Oh, let me go do this real quick.
Yeah.
And then, it legitimately does feel like you look down for like, 5 minutes and then you look up and 2.5 hours have passed.
Which makes it a really good sick game, by the way, because you are just trying to pass the time as fast as possible. And it was absolutely brilliant for that. So if you're sick, go play it too.
And I will say, it's not their first game, because this was developed by Omega Force, which did the Dragon Quest Builders games, which are very similar to Pokopia. But yeah, I mean, they obviously know what they're doing. I think it's by design that they're going to that they're making the game structured this way. It is a little handholdy in the main narrative, but like if you go over to like your free build area, I'm still not saying what the name of it is because I think that's spoilery.
Okay.
If you go to the free build area, which is where I am right now, I'm just like building that up, and it's such a different game, and I'm loving it. Although I did misplace one of the one-of-a-kind items. And since there's no way to search for an item, I looked for 4 hours on Sunday. Sat down, I was like, all right, I've got to find this stupid item. I want to build this structure, but I need this one-of-a-kind item. And it's nowhere to be found. 4 hours of my life gone because I was looking for this thing and there's no way to search for an item. So that is frustrating, but other than that, I love the game. But with it coming right out of the gates on like from a sales perspective, I think it's going to pretty easily overtake Pokemon Legends ZA and Donkey Kong Bonanza. But Mario Kart World has sold more than 14 million units. Do you think there's any world where Pokopia catches it?
I'm going to say yes, because I want it to. I want it to. And
I mean, it is the it game right now, like across any platform. So it would make sense that it could. I mean,
and then
I think
once we hit like gift giving season,
Oh yeah.
then people are going to be like, oh, this is the thing everybody needs to see. I think we could get there.
So I'm looking up. I know that like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold like 58 million. Oh, 70.5 million
Yeah, I don't know if we're
copies.
getting there, but
Well, I mean, that's one of the greatest selling games of all time. Animal Crossing, which,
Yeah.
there's some parallels to be drawn here. I think that it's safe to say that, like, if somebody was like, oh man, I played Animal Crossing so much in 2020, like during COVID,
Mhm.
I want something like that. I think it's a pretty easy recommendation to be like, oh, well, you should go get Pokopia. And
Yeah.
that sold just about 50 million copies.
Okay.
Animal Crossing New Horizons. So, there's a chance Pokemon Plus, like kind of like the Animal Crossing style gameplay. I mean, I don't know.
I think the Pokemon of it all really does a lot for it, because there is so much, like, to for older people to like come in and remember their first gen Pokemon and love them, and then the newer generation coming in and being like, I love my stupid trash Pokemon.
Yeah, it appeals to everyone. It does nostalgia the right way, and it's also a perfect melding of different IP and genres and gameplay styles that I think that it has like kind of the perfect storm to appeal to this enormous audience.
Yeah.
Mario
100%.
Kart has almost always been the best-selling game on whatever platform it's on, so it's going to have an uphill battle, not even like taking into account the fact that it's bundled with a lot of Switch 2s.
Mhm.
But I think they're discontinuing the Mario Kart World Switch 2 bundle. So,
Now's Pokopio's time.
I mean, honestly, if they put out a Pokopia bundle, I think that would sell like hotcakes as we get closer to the holidays. Like, this is a game that I'm hearing people say, like, "Oh, I didn't buy Mario Kart World, or I didn't buy Switch 2 for Mario Kart World. I didn't buy Switch 2 for Donkey Kong Bonanza, even though I came closer for Donkey Kong Bonanza. I still didn't. I couldn't pull the trigger." I hear a lot of people saying, "I am buying a Switch 2 for Pokemon Pokopia."
Yeah. I mean, a little behind the scenes for the latest Indie Council. They were trying to rally to get me to give it temporary indie status so we could talk about
It
it.
kind of has the soul of an indie.
Yeah, it does. It has a lot of, I think it's taking a lot of ideas from the indie space, and I think that's really, really cool that we're in this, like, Nintendo, one of the biggest in the world, doing amazing things, is looking at other spaces and going, hey, what can we take from there and put the signature Nintendo polish on it.
Mhm. Well, it's interesting because and we're getting way off topic here. We'll keep going in a second, but for those who don't know, I write the replies section in Game Informer magazine, which is like people can write in messages, ask questions or whatever, and I respond to those in the magazine. And somebody asked a question, this is, I guess, kind of a spoiler for the next issue,
Oh
but
my
somebody
God.
asked a question about kind of like, oh, well, like, Metroidvanias have become such a huge thing in the indie space. Like, what other genres would be what other genres would be ripe for the indie space to kind of like take over? And I'm not going to say what my answer was, but I do think that it really made me reflect on like how the two main companies, namely like Nintendo and Konami, that introduced Metroidvanias to the world, through the Metroid and Castlevania franchises,
Mhm.
kind of forgot all about Metroidvanias for what, like a decade and a half, 2 decades.
Yeah.
And in that absence, indie slid in. And they became so popular and showed that there's still such a market for it that both Nintendo and Konami have since re-entered the space and taken inspiration or even collaborated with indie studios. Like
Yes. It
Mercury
makes my
Steam.
life so difficult because it's like, what's an indie anymore? But it's like, yeah, coming back and being like partnering with Konami to make like an indie studio make a Castlevania, and you're like, what? What's going on here? That's amazing. I love to see it.
Yeah, it's so incredible to see that happening, and that kind of like circular inspiration is really awesome, because obviously, like, without Nintendo, without Konami, we wouldn't have Metroidvanias.
Mhm.
But now it seems like without those indies, we wouldn't have Metroidvanias either.
Right.
So
I mean,
it's
it's
like,
the same thing. We're going so far off track, but I don't care. It's the same thing with like Stardew Valley. Like the farming sim was not a genre that was around really anymore.
mhm.
And now it's like you are running into so many of them, and you're seeing them twist, and you're seeing I'm so ready for Grave Seasons coming out
Yeah.
sometime this year, where it's like it's the twist of like someone's getting murdered. Like, I love it.
Well, Jill, we're going to keep moving because we have still a decent amount of news to get to before we even get to our Best of GDC segment here. But we finally learned more about Shinobi Art of Vengeance and its Sega Villains stage DLC.
Okay.
So we knew this was going to bring 3 kind of retro Sega villains, or I guess classic Sega villains. One of them is still showing up. But we didn't know when or how much it would cost, nor did we have any idea what those battles would look like. We now have all of that information as Sega released a trailer for the DLC pack. The pack is arriving on April 3rd and is going to include battles against Dr. Eggman from Sonic, Goro Majima from Yakuza, and the Death Adder from Golden Axe. And these are boss fights that you can take on in what I think is one of the most underappreciated games of 2025. But the DLC includes those 3 bosses, 5 new stages, new ninpo, music, modes, all that stuff. And it will only cost $10, which is kind of shocking given how much stuff there. I mean, that seems like pretty good value to me.
Good value right there.
Jill, I'm getting into the philosophy of indies, as we just talked about before. Where do you draw the line at indies? Because this is a Sega-backed, Sega-published, Sega co-developed game, but it has, like I said, the heart of an indie game, just like I said Pokopia kind of has the soul of an indie game. And it was lead developed by Lizard Cube, which is definitely an indie studio.
Yeah, no, this is one of those games that makes me so angry because ultimately I had to decide, okay, this is not an indie. This is going to get enough like mainstream coverage. This is backed by way too many. Like, I cannot push the envelope that far to try to call this an indie in any way. But I saw it and I wanted it to be an indie. Sometimes you just want it so bad. But yes, I am very excited. DLC is great. I mean, it's great perhaps for players that it hasn't gotten the recognition that it deserves because you're getting all of this. And they're able to do it because they have the AAA reach rather than an indie reach. But you're getting kind of indie prices, which is very nice. But no, this game makes me angry. I've decided.
Well, it's very good. If you haven't played it, you should. One of the best, I would say, action platformers that I've played in many years. But Sega Villains stage DLC, I always want to forget the stage part, comes to the game on April 3rd, and I will definitely be checking that out. Joe, we just talked about Konami. And a few episodes, I was also talking about Konami and how they seem to kind of be fully back into releasing games after they announced a new Castlevania, as well as a new Metal Gear Solid collection.
Yep.
They also made another announcement even after that state of play, and they revealed the Marvel Maximum Collection. And this has 6 classic games from Konami, including the legendary X-Men arcade game. It also has Captain America and the Avengers, Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage, Venom and Spider-Man Separation Anxiety, Spider-Man and X-Men Arcade's Revenge, and Silver Surfer. So the collection also features rollback netcode, online crossplay, save anywhere, an in-game museum, cheat menus, and other bonuses. So this is looking pretty amazing. So while I was at GDC, we also learned that the game is coming out very soon, as in March 27th. So, Jill, I don't know about you, but I put many dollars worth of quarters into the X-Men arcade game. And every time I go to an arcade bar to this day, it's still one of the like handful of games that I will seek out. It's like X-Men arcade, Simpsons, Turtles in Time, all Konami classics. Street Fighter 2, even though you can see I have a Street Fighter 2 cabinet behind me, but I still love playing it at the arcade. There's something about being in an arcade that just makes me want to play that. And I would say, you know, Marvel versus Capcom, maybe Area 51, if you remember that with like the guns.
I'll go with it. Why not?
But is this a game that you have any history with, or any of these games for that matter?
I mean, in the sense that it's such a part of the video game industry makeup, yes. I'm very interested in the fact that they've got a lot of Spider-Man in there. I wonder why.
Yeah.
There's a big Spider-Man drop recently everyone's getting excited about. So, um, yeah, it's not. I would have to go under your wing in order to get really involved with this particular game.
Mm. I am very excited because, like I said, put a ton of money into X-Men Arcade. It's going to be so cool to have a copy here at my house. I think they put an arcade one up out for it, but I never got that one, unfortunately. But
Ooh, fake fan.
I know. But I do have the Marvel vs. Capcom cabinet, so I have a Marvel arcade one-up cabinet. The other ones, especially the Spider-Man games, I always wanted to play these because I love Spider-Man 1, and 2, I remember seeing the ads for Maximum Carnage in every video game magazine where it's just like a sea of red over New York City and Carnage just like in your face. And it was like such a striking visual. It's, for me, it's like one of the most iconic like video game magazine ads that I can recall. And it makes me want to go, like, just thinking of that ad makes me want to flip through and like find my old gaming magazines and just like, thumb through them and like relive those glory days. Cause those were,
But here's the thing. You're looking at those with rose-tinted glasses. I very recently saw a commercial that was like, oh yeah, I do remember this commercial, but like those were wild days.
oh, they
It was,
were.
yeah, like it was the one where the kid gets born. Like you literally see a kid being birthed and he shoots through life. And I can't even remember what the game was that they were like doing, but it's like the entire person's life. And it's just like this.
Obviously it was Shenmue.
Obviously.
But yeah, so that comes out very soon, March 27th, and I will definitely be playing that. Jill, that wraps up all the news we're going to be talking about. But next segment, we are going to be talking about all of our favorite games that we played at GDC. But there was actually one meeting that I took while at GDC. There's several meetings that I took that were at GDC that were not about playing a game or seeing a game or talking about a game. I guess this was about talking about a game. But this was an interview with our friends over at Nintendo. So I sat down for 45 solid minutes with producer Kenta Motokura and programmer Tetsuya Kurihara from the Donkey Kong Bananza team, as well as the Super Mario Odyssey team. And we looked back at what I think is Nintendo's best 2025 game. And yes, I said it. I know that I was kind of Team Metroid Prime 4 for a while, but now that I have a little bit of distance from it, I think I've come full circle back to thinking that Donkey Kong Bonanza was the best Nintendo game of 2025. Jill, I'm taking it you did not play Bonanza.
The household that I'm in did, certainly. Okay. So I have been aware of it, and I'm helping, and I've got a special dance for any time you see a banana,
I think that the banana is like one of the best. Oh, you did the dance. Great.
I did the dance because it's a trigger. It's like a Pavlovian. I can't not do it now.
Well, I'm sorry that this condition seems to have afflicted you.
Yes. Now you know my secret. You can do that to me anytime when we're out in public. I'll look wild.
Amazing. But this conversation with Motokura and Kurihara was mostly focused on the destruction of Donkey Kong Bonanza, which they gave a talk at GDC about how they built the world using voxels, which, are basically like 3D versions of pixels. Mm-hmm. And they did that, and that enabled them to unlock this like just crazy level of destruction that allowed players to kind of chip away at pretty much anything. And I asked them when they decided to make the enemies and bosses destructible in addition to the environments. And here's what they said. This is from Kurihara. He said, it was pretty early on in development because when we cast our goal to create everything voxel, everything destructible, then naturally the enemies will have to be also destructible voxels. So it was very early on in development. So then the idea of brainstorming and ideation of what the boss encounter is going to be like is with the understanding and the premise that they're going to be voxels. And with this understanding, how do we make an interesting, fun, engaging boss encounter? And then I asked them about the Bonanza transformations and how they played into the destruction elements. And I got a fun quote from Kurihara here. He said, I think we can agree that the most destructive transformation is the elephant Bonanza. And honestly speaking, it probably went too far. But at the same time, it's fun, it feels good, and that's what matters most. And I agree wholeheartly with Kurihara there.
Yeah. It went too far in a lot of ways.
It did.
It went a lot.
It did. But fun to note here is I followed up with that, asked because he mentioned the Elephant Bonanza. I asked about the similarities between the transformations in Mario Wonder versus Donkey Kong Bonanza, with a particular angle towards them both having elephant power-ups that are very iconic within the promotion of the game. And Motokura answered this one. He said, to be honest, the fact that we both had elephants was a complete coincidence. When I think about how the elephant transformation works in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it's clear to me that there were different goals for what they were trying to accomplish, even though it's the same animal transformation. So I didn't worry too much about it too much from that perspective. However, if they were vacuuming out blocks in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I would have been a little bit worried. So that was a fun little quote there. I asked about how the level design differs when you're creating an area in a highly destructible environment, like compared especially to something like Super Mario Odyssey, because it's the same team that did Mario Odyssey and Donkey Kong Bonanza. Mm-hmm. And Motokura said, I would say that fundamentally the idea of how a player gets from point A to point B in a 3D platformer is still the same. When you have a game in which all of the terrain is breakable and the player might be encountering new things that are hidden inside, there are moments of discovery. I think that there's a really big potential in a game like this for these moments of discovery and more surface area that can be explored, even in the inside of, or be explored even the inside of the surface area, than a game like Super Mario Odyssey. But we have to think about the placement of all of these elements, and not even just the ones that are visible, the hidden ones as well. And that brings a different kind of challenge into level design, where you really have to you have to have all these placements correct throughout the world and inside of it. So, I mean, that seems like a kind of a nightmare to design, but they pulled it off.
It has to be one of those things where you love what you're doing, because that sounds overwhelming.
Yes. And my curiosity absolutely got the best of me with my next question. I mean, I'm not reading the entire interview here, but I wanted to ask who decided on the redesign of the Donkey Kong character model, because we saw the Switch 2 reveal about a year and a month ago, mm-hmm. and everybody zeroed in on, Donkey Kong looks different, and then obviously he looked different in Mario Kart World, and then looked different in Donkey Kong Bonanza. So I asked what came first, Mario Kart World or Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Motokura said, quote, I think it was all a through line of that thinking and that research that I was just talking about what the concept Donkey Kong is, when he was referring to a previous answer where I asked him how he worked to kind of honor the different eras of Donkey Kong within Bonanza. So he said, talking about that concept about what Donkey Kong is or how he should be in a game. And so that conversation about which characteristics are we going to bring forward in this character was something that was really deeply informed by, in a sense, the parent of Donkey Kong, Mr. Miyamoto, as well as conversations with Mr. Koizumi, who's worked on Donkey Kong titles, to come up with what's the appropriate expression for this character? What's the most important thing? Is it his strength, for example? That carried through to design as we were able to express each of those beats. That was the origination of this basic character model for Donkey Kong in Donkey Kong Bonanza. And that was something that was transferred to Mario Kart World for use in that project as well. So yeah, that's a fun thing that it was them who redesigned Donkey Kong, and then they transferred that version of Donkey Kong to Mario Kart World so people could kind of get used to that version before getting a full adventure with the character looking like that.
Yeah. And it works out usually better too when you have slow introduction versus and we've totally changed the thing you remember from your childhood.
Yeah, let's rip off this Band-Aid, yeah, and you don't want that. So I ended the interview asking about the future of Donkey Kong now that it has come back in such a big way. It was about 25 years from the last 3D Donkey Kong game, and what was it, 12 years since the last mainline Donkey Kong game in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze when Bonanza came out.
No, and that makes me sad.
I know. And I was like, will we have to wait so long to get another Donkey Kong game? And you get kind of a standard Nintendo response here. He said, quote, I guess maybe what stands out to me is the idea, first of all, that Donkey Kong as a character, and this is true for Mario as well, really are a part of Nintendo. And so for us, it's almost like we're borrowing them to create software with. For me, being able to see people have fun once again with the character of Donkey Kong helps me communicate the potential for that character. I have a sense of relief knowing that something that people can enjoy in the future as well. Unfortunately, I can't talk any specifics of the future plans at this time. But hey, he did mention I'm excited because people will be able to enjoy him again in the future, and I can communicate that people liked it. And so, yeah, that's promising, even though it's a very vague answer and like very non-committal. But it does seem like there's hope. Yes, you can have hope in this one very specific element of your life now.
I know this one though.
That's how it feels. But if you want to read the full interview, this is maybe like less than a third of the interview. So there's plenty more to dig into. But this is the stuff I thought was most pertinent to listeners of this podcast. You can head on over to GameInformer.com. Jill, we are going to take our only break of this episode. And when we get back, we will be breaking down a bunch of games we either play or saw at GDC in San Francisco last week. We will be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Introducing Virtuo Up, the latest in a long line of innovation from Nespresso. It's innovation you can touch, sense, and taste in every single cup. With a 3-second start, easy open lever, and dedicated brew over ice button, it's even easier to enjoy your coffee your way. Sip for yourself. Shop Virtuo Up exclusively at Nespresso.com.
We are back, and we both spent all week at Game Developers Conference out in San Francisco, California, and we came away with a ton of games to talk about, most of which are indies. And Jill, before we jump into this, we talked briefly about this in the beginning, but how did our paths only cross once?
No. Okay, here's the thing. I jumped into Dan Hack's stream on Sunday, I want to say. And apparently he was there too, running around. And I'm like, how did we not see each other at all? There was just like, the thing about these is like, you're always going different places to different things, and you don't have time. Like, I think GDC is one of those conventions that doesn't have like a J-Dub. It's not like this is where we all end up.
Marriott,
yeah. So like you don't have that instance where everybody is in one space at one time. So I'm just now discovering certain people were at GDC that I just didn't see. So we need to see way more people.
Yeah, I mean, I did thankfully have a couple drinks with Dan, so that was nice.
No one texted me.
It was kind of an impromptu thing, but yeah, we should have gotten in touch with you. But yeah, I saw you at the very first thing that I did at GDC, which was...
dang, that was like my fourth.
Well, I didn't arrive till Monday night.
Gotta get on it, Jay.
We went to an Xbox indie showcase, and then no, it was the second thing that I did, actually, because in that morning I did the Nintendo partner showcase.
Yes, you did.
So both of these were just populated with indie games, and this was the vast majority of the games that I played at GDC. And so I've asked you, Jill, to bring 5 games. I have my list of 5 games. They're different games. We double-checked our work here.
I had to ask Shay to bring down my list a little bit because I'm like, I can't cut them.
We've definitely done the eShop Gems of the Year and had like 20-something games, and that is a great thing, but we don't usually do news that week, so we had to keep this episode manageable. So we limited ourselves to 5 games apiece, but I've played some of the games you mentioned. You've played, I think, most of the games that I've mentioned here. So we'll have a little bit of back and forth here, but we'll try to keep these quick, concise previews. One of these games is out now, which is where we're going to start.
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna rattle off around 10 games that we checked out at GDC and we came away impressed by and excited for. And not all of these are going to come to Switch, at least not confirmed to come to Switch. A lot of them are. We did kind of draw the line for this episode on like, it has to feasibly make sense that it would come to Switch. There's a couple of games here where it's like, okay, this is only announced for like PC and Xbox, but like it is such a Switch game.
Yeah.
Or like every other game from this developer is on Switch. It would be crazy if they just didn't put it on Switch as well. So let's get into it. So the first game that I want to talk about was actually the first game that I played at GDC. It was at that Nintendo event. It's a game that is actually out now, out this week. It's called Deadzone Rogue. And I had no idea. This is how like unaware of this game I was before the Nintendo Indie Showcase a couple weeks ago. I had no idea that this game has been out on Steam and PS5 for a while now.
For a bit.
And it's basically a roguelite first-person shooter, and it's room-based. So, you start your run, and you go to the first room. You clear out all the enemies, and then you move on to the next one. And you start, every single time you go into a room, you start in stealth, which is a really cool concept because then you can, like, position yourself. So you can, like, walk right past enemies because you're invisible. And then like you can look around and see like, okay, well, this enemy's here. I need to take them out. What's the one that I should focus on first? Like, so like there's some rooms where it's like, okay, this guy's a shield generator. So if I take him out, it'll make it a lot easier to take out the rest of them because their shields will be down. Or there's this really inconveniently placed turret. I bet if I take that out, it'll make my life a lot easier. So like you have to be strategic with your first move, but then also strategic with your upgrades and your loadouts that you choose. And, it's just like, it feels really fun to go room by room, clearing it out. And it's very systematic, right? It's not just like, they don't try to make it feel organic of like, all right, this level bleeds into this level. It's like, no, this is a room. Your job is to clear it. And then once you do that, you get your loot and you move on. Every once in a while, you'll get to an upgrade station, and then you can like any resources you've accumulated, you can use to like upgrade your armor, upgrade your weapons, and like you get different weapons you can do. So I had like a shotgun and a pistol and a assault rifle, and it was fun to like be like, okay, well, right now, like there's a lot of enemies up close and like in a cluster. I should throw a grenade in the middle to knock them all out, and then run up with my shotgun and just start blowing them away one by one. So like you have to really think on each and every room. And like I only played the beginning. So it was pretty tough near the end of my run. And there were some really exciting moments where I was just like, all right, I have like 2 HP remaining. I have 4 enemies left. Like I just need to like be deadly accurate with this rifle from afar and hope they don't shoot a projectile at me and knock out my remaining HP. But like, also, it's just like the gunplay itself also feels surprisingly solid. Like I did not expect it to feel as good as it did. So this is one that I actually just downloaded for my Switch 2. I'm excited to check out the full game now. I've just been otherwise occupied with a review game for Game Informer, so I haven't had a chance to really play some of these games. But I do have 2 new games on my Switch 2 or 3 new games actually. Soon to be more. I have 3 new games on my Switch 2 from the past week, and this is one of them. And I'm excited to check out the full game, Deadzone Rogue. It's out now. I recommend it based on the only 30 minutes that I played at GDC, but I may have more thoughts on it in future episodes.
Yeah, this is one of those ones I believe that showed up at the Indie World Showcase earlier in March. It was very out of the blue, that like as far as tone, but also, as you said, this had been out in other spaces before. And if you had told me, give me as a million guesses as to what games were going to be shown, this would never have shown up. But I love seeing indies getting recognition that are in genres that you don't typically think of as being in the indie space. And as you say, this is a really fun strategic way to introduce kind of a shooting game onto, which you don't get a lot of on the Switch. So yeah, it's good to see. I'm glad you're really excited about it. Spread the word.
Yeah, and it's always good to spread the good word of indie games, as you are well aware, Jill, which is why it's now your turn. I think we just go back and forth here.
I love it. So I'll start with my game of the show, which Brian Shea was there to see the light in my eyes when I had just finished playing this. This is called At Fate's End.
Let's go. Yeah. But to preface this, like I came up to you and it was like right when we like first saw each other, we exchanged our pleasantries, and I was like, well, you're, Miss Indie, you're Miss Independent, as Kelly Clarkson would say.
Yeah, that song was about me.
It
Little known
was,
fact.
and it prophesized your emergence as the indie informer.
Mhm, mhm.
And I said, "What is the best thing you've played at this thing?" And you said, "At Fate's End."
Yes.
And then I did get a chance to play it, but I want to hear from you why this game is so special.
Okay, so this game showed up originally last year. I want to say it's from a Game Fest. And it's from Thunder Lotus, who are the people behind, for most recently, like Spiritfarer
Spiritfarer.
and 33 Immortals.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't.
they're
I prefer to reference Sundered because that's one of my favorite Metroidvanias. I think it's one of the most underrated Metroidvanias. But they did Sundered, 33 Immortals, and as you said, Spiritfarer, which really took them to the next level.
Right.
Like, yeah.
So when I saw it originally, I saw the heart of Spiritfarer, and I saw the action, and I'm like, I've played 33 Immortals. I'm a fan of that game. So if they're able to do action and heart together in a game, I've not yet seen that from them yet. I'll be really impressed. And I sat down, all my hopes up here, and they easily leapt over them. It is just the most, first of all, gorgeous. It's a gorgeous game. It is set and inspired by sort of Celtic mythology, which is a mythology that needs to be getting more love because it is so weird and complicated. And this game has a lot of that sort of weird and complicatedness to it. You are playing a character named Sean, and she is estranged from her family. Her family is this big clan, the Hemlock clan, in the realm. They're like they rule over certain realms, and her mother, while she is estranged, passes away. The matriarch of this important clan passes away, and just before that, tells Sean that she is going to become the heir of the clan. What is the title is called the Princess of Swords. Swords. And so there are a lot of things that come out of that. First of all, you have to understand that this clan becomes powerful by becoming the wielder of magical godlike weapons that are in the form of a sword, by sacrificing something very meaningful to them. For Sean, she sacrificed her throat, which means she can no longer speak. She literally has to speak through her sword, which on a level of just like being literal, that's cool. Being like metaphorical, also very cool.
Yeah, talk about letting the swords do the talking.
Exactly. And then on top of that, because with the Princess of Swords idea, there is a lot of mixed in and intertwined ideas of like tarot and the beautiful artwork that you see in tarot, and the way that a lot of the game actually works is manifested by tarot cards. And we'll see what that means in a second. So Sean comes back to her native land, and now she has to, by nice or not ways, get the fealty of her siblings to claim the throne, essentially, and become the Princess of Swords. But y'all, if you are the kind of person who sacrificed something to get the power that you currently wield, you're not going to give it up very easily. So the first person that Sean runs into is her sister Camilla, closest to her in age. They are very close generally. Camilla's artwork in general is just absolutely fantastic. She's the lion's mane of a woman. She's the typical kind of Celtic joy in life as well as fighting, and everything is just like rambunctious. And she comes up and she's so happy to see her sister, and then the next second she's ready to kill her sister.
The dialogue, it's so I asked Thunder Lotus, I go, is this game going to have incredible action? They're like, yes. I was like, I love Sundered. I love the combat in that game. They're like, oh, perfect. Yeah, this game has great action. I'm like, is this game going to make me weep uncontrollably like Spiritfarer makes everybody weep uncontrollably? And they said, yes, but probably not in this demo. When I got to some of the dialogue between them, I was like, this is a gut punch.
Yeah.
Like, and you can... It's illustrated, and it is like just written in such a way that you can feel her
Yes.
sister's rage coming off the screen, because she's like, why did you not come to Mother's funeral? Like, why
Mhm.
haven't you talked to us? Why haven't you
You
reached out? And it's
I
like,
needed
oh,
you from a person you can,
yeah.
and you've only known Camilla for like a second, but you already know she's not the kind of person to delve into these feelings and to
Mhm.
be vulnerable enough to say to her sister, I needed you when you weren't here, and to feel the hurt of that on top of all of this, uh, like geopolitical, fighting for the realm situation. Just like the family interactions and the relationships are enough of a gut punch without everything. And then of course there is everything piled on top of it. um so there are two sort of action phases, I guess, of the game that we played, and I assume that's going to continue on in the full game. There are the encounters, which are a mix of literal fighting encounters and combat, but also encounters in a cutscene of like trying to get the other person to see your point of view and to recognize you as the Princess of Swords. Um, the first time that we attempt to fight Camilla, we cannot win. There is nothing we have to convince her, because you look at her and her sword is all about strength, it's all about battle prowess. She's literally given her left arm to have this sword, and we have nothing to counterbalance that, to say, hey, this is worth putting down your sword and giving your fealty to me. So we die, essentially. But we wake up and our sister still loves us, and it's still like, we don't really know what's going on, but we know we have to get some information. We have to figure something out to help our cause here. So we go to our sister's realm, and the castle that she controls, and that's the sort of phase two. It's a adventure investigation, like it becomes sort of like a mystery title, where your sword, one of its powers, is being able to enter into a world where you see more than the average person. It's kind of sort of vision is what I've decided to call it. And you can find clues and pick things up and put things together in such a way that you can return then to the fight and use what are the things you found literally become cards, and you can play your cards um, at the right time in order to convince your sibling that you're worthy of this title.
Mm.
And it's so beautiful. The cards come back during the fight as well, because your sword's power is also copying the powers of the people around you. So you can choose to have like a double jump or a dash depending
Mhm.
on what you decide to do. And it's just so well interconnected and lots of really cool ideas. During the investigation phase, there are a lot of really cool like secret things to suss out and kind of find as you're going through, and sort of hints as to who your other siblings are and what they may or may not have sacrificed to gain their own power. And I'm so ready to see the rest of it, even in just like the smallest details. Like me and Emran Khan, who also really love this game, we're talking about the animation of Sean when she just pulls. She has this thick mane of hair as well, but she like pulls it in front of her as an idle animation, and it just feels so good to like sit there and watch that, and it's amazing. I am
What I
so ready for this.
what I love about it, and this is what the developers told me, was like, oh, this is like kind of a metaphor for family therapy.
Mhm, mhm.
And you feel that. And one of the things that I think was the most striking is like, you have your sister, she's full of rage, she strikes you down. And then when you wake up, she's taking care of you and talking softly. And it's like, how many times have we had that situation where we get into this like knockdown, drag out argument with a loved one? And then like, you take a slight break, or like somebody says something that crosses the line, which, in her case was striking her sister down. But like, the metaphor is there of like, oh, somebody said something that crossed the line. And then you suddenly have this sober realization that like, we still love each other. We're still like in this together. We have our disagreements, we have our problems,
Mhm.
but we have each other as well. And
Yeah.
I think that was so handled like incredibly well,
And it's so incredibly mean too, because it's just like it wouldn't hurt half as bad if you couldn't see the love between them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, how am I gonna do this? And I might have to kill this person at the end of this demo, and I don't know if I'm ready for this. I've only been into this for 30 minutes. I don't know if I'm ready to take my heart like that. But
yeah, Thunder Lotus knows how to write good dialogue, it turns out, in case Spiritfarer wasn't enough of an indication of that. But I don't think is this coming out sometime this year?
Yeah, this is 2026.
Okay,
we don't know any more
later
about
2026 is what it seems like.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, but yeah,
unless it comes out tomorrow, who knows?
Who knows? They're not Nintendo. They're a little bit more predictable than Nintendo, so who knows? But I would be surprised if it's hey, it's available now, because this seems like a game they want to promote, especially since they have that line of like, from the team that brought you Spiritfarer, because that game blew the heck up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that as well. That is definitely one of the coolest games I played at GDC. And I can't wait to play more. I'm hoping that I'll get more chances to play it in the lead up to launch. And hopefully it's not like, all right, it's coming out December 4th. Hopefully the 2026 is like August or July. And it's not like I have to wait like half a year for it from now.
Right.
But all right, well, I'm not going to go in order of like my favorite. I'm going to go like just kind of in order of that I played them. So next at this Nintendo Partner Showcase, I jumped over to a game that we've seen. We saw it on the State of Play. I think we've seen it in a Nintendo thing at some point. And that is Darwin's Paradox. This is a game from Konami, but it's also a ZDT, I think, is the developer.
Yeah, that sounds right.
They are, I believe, a French studio. But I'm just like guessing at this point. Yeah. But I'm gonna look it up actually. Let's see, Darwin's Paradox, and ZDT Studio. Yes, I'm 1 for 1, and I don't know where they're from, but
Philly.
Are they?
No, I just made that up. But no one knows, so.
We're gonna find out. ZDT Studios. I'm determined.
You're gonna find so much lore on this particular developer. That's where the whole rest of the show is gonna go. We're finding out.
Nope, they're US based. It looks like, because they have a +1.
Oh, so it's getting closer to me. I could be right.
ZDT Entertainment Studios. Oh wait, no. This is a different company.
How dare they?
This is a different company, because this is a... Hold on.
Okay. One second.
Okay. All right. About Us. Ready? Paris-based independent game studio. Let's go. All right.
But it's like Paris, Texas.
All right. So now that we've detoured out of the way of what Darwin's Paradox is, it's a game that you play as a little octopus.
Cute little octopus.
And I played the tutorial and then the first level, and basically like he has all these moves. It feels amazing to swim around. It's a 2D puzzle platformer, and you're swimming around as this little octopus, and he's very nimble in the water. But it's like he doesn't really have many attacks, if really any. So it's mostly just avoiding combat. So like there's one sequence where it's like, okay, well, there's this like predatory fish swimming in a circle. You have to wait for him so like his back is to you, and then you can swim across. So you can hide behind a rock, and then when he passes, you cross through. It's like, all right, that's one way to approach stealth. Then there's another one where it's like he can shoot ink. And when he does that, it creates like a little bit of a trail, and you can swim along in that trail, and it guards your view from like any enemies. Then it was like, all right, you can dash. So like if there's a current like flowing towards you, you can dash through it and get to the end. I'm assuming there's also other utilities, like just like trying to get through an area fast without an enemy seeing you. And then you can get out on land, and like using his little like suction cup tentacles, he can like climb along like different like surfaces and like up on the ground and everything. And then like, so that's the tutorial, swimming around with a friend. And then like an Echo the Dolphin-esque twist where suddenly out of nowhere, instead of it being like this giant mystical storm that sweeps away all the sea life like in Echo the Dolphin, an alien ship comes over top of you and abducts you and your friend, and you get separated, and you get left at what appears to be like a dump or like a landfill, and you're going through, and there are just these aggressive rats everywhere, and they're trying to attack you, and you have to either sneak by them, or if they see you, like, you know, you have to get somewhere really fast. So like they're swarming you, and you have to like drop down into an area, and then they'll pass by and leave you alone. Then there's all these puzzles that involve pushing these boxes around that like open up paths, and it's it's basic to this point, but it was only that what I believe is the first level of the game. So I'm not anticipating it to be like super intricate, but it seemed like a fun and enjoyable puzzle platformer. I had a good time like moving stuff around. It kind of reminded me like a more lighthearted version of something like Limbo or Inside, but like I don't know how many like what the heck moments there are like there were in Inside, where like just like you're left with your jaw on the ground because of what you just witnessed.
Don't think about that.
But Darwin's Paradox. Darwin is a very cute character. I really like the little octopus. But yeah, it seems like they're doing a cool thing, and ZDT is developing it. Konami seems like they're supporting them and publishing them, and it's cool to see a publisher that is getting back into gaming in a big way, as we've discussed already on this episode. Yeah, supporting an indie studio in this way, and same way they're supporting, like Motion Twin and Evil Empire for the new Castlevania game. Like it seems like they're making the right moves here about like who to partner with.
Yeah, 100%.
And this game was not on my radar in any way, shape, or form, and now I'm very excited to play it. And it comes out April 2nd, so we again don't have very long to wait.
I love that.
That one is confirmed for Switch, by the way. The first few games of mine are all confirmed for Switch. So we know that Deadzone Rogue is coming to Switch. It's out on Switch right now. Darwin's Paradox is coming to Switch too. And At Fate's End is not yet confirmed for Switch 2, but it would be weird if it didn't, given that, Sundered, I think Yotan, Spiritfarer.
Of course.
All those games. I don't think 33 Immortals is, but that was like very specifically an Xbox endeavor.
And they were very recently just on Epic as well. So they're now, if we hear something, we'll hear something, but they're neither here nor there.
Yeah. So I guess that's your turn now, Jill, unless you have thoughts on Darwin's Paradox.
I think they're having a lot of fun with this. I remember the fake out of the Metal Gear little guy sneaking under here, and then, oh no, it's an octopus.
People were very upset about that, specifically Greg Miller. He was like, oh my God, they're announcing a new Metal Gear thing. And then he's like, the effing octopus game, come on.
I mean, that's great coverage for...
Picture this, a curve in the road, a change in plans. Well, what do you say? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer's always yes. Yes to adventure. Yes to escape. Yes to performance. Yes to comfort. Yes to right now. Because saying yes without hesitation, that's real luxury. The all-new Audi Q3, made for the yes life.
A game that might not get it otherwise. So speaking of, I had to put this on my list because you said that you had perhaps not heard of it or been too familiar with it. So I am ready to talk about Echo Weaver.
Yes.
I think this is going to be a game for you. I think this is going to be a on your wish list kind of situation here.
All right. Let me get my eShop or Steam or whatever it's on up.
Yeah. So this is from the Moonlight Kids developers, and they previously before did The Wild at Heart, which also came out on Switch. I would be so surprised if this does not eventually come to the Switch, if not come to Switch when it does eventually release. We don't have a release date on this yet. Echo Weaver is a time loop Metroidvania, and I don't know how you feel about this particular term is starting to pop up. We talked a little bit about how indies play with genres a little bit, and this is a new one that's kind of popping up. It really kind of, I think the conversation started around Tunic, maybe a little bit later, but it's a kind of game in which you unlock things you can do in the game by gaining knowledge. Just purely you as the player learning something has changed the way that the game works. So it would be a spoiler to kind of tell you what that meant. But instead of like, oh, that red gate, I get this ability and now I can open that red gate. It's like, I have now learned that if I hold a button in a certain way and push the D-pad at the same time, then something in the world triggers alongside of it. And you as the player learn this, and now the world is open to you in a whole different way, in the way it wasn't before. So that's kind of the idea of what a Metroidvania is.
Metroidvania. I still
I
don't
know,
love the term.
I love that term. There are people who really, really do not like it because it's just so like, already people have a problem with Metroidvania as a term and all of that. But it's the basic idea of like, instead of abilities unlocking things, it's your own personal knowledge. So for Echo Weaver, this game, the first time I saw it was at GDC, I want to say a couple years ago. You are in a time loop. It's sci-fi. It's so beautifully hand-drawn. It is the time that you have is also your life. So you can kind of give up your life and you lose a little bit of time, but so you don't want to be hitting things essentially. So, and then you can gain life and time as you go through, and it's so cleverly done. And every time you finish a loop, you have a little more knowledge. Maybe you have a new weapon or something that you can kind of go through. In the first sort of chapter that I played, the idea is you're in some kind of what feels like a science facility that probably you were a part of in some way, because you don't seem to be normal. You run into a AI figure who is a cat for some reason,
Yes.
very cute, kind of chibi cat. And they try to explain that you are looping through and we need to figure out what's going on outside. You can't get outside because there is a gate that is stopping you. But in order to get to the gate, you have to push a button, and in like 10 in-world seconds, you have to go from one place to another, and it's completely impossible until you go through the loop a couple more times and you discover certain abilities that allow you to suddenly, you're just cutting through. Maybe you find shortcuts, maybe you find abilities that you're like, okay, that was actually really easy, and then on to the next one. In this latest demo that I played, it was at Day of the Devs, I believe. There is a way to teleport to different places that you didn't know before, and you're in kind of a different ethereal realm, and you start to get a little bit more of the background with you keep finding these transmissions that have been recorded in the past, and it seems to be discussions between a scientist and their sort of artificial helper, talking about what is the point of science, why it, like, you know, you guys were so busy thinking if you could, you didn't think about whether you should, sort of situation of like, okay, there are things that went really bad here, it seems like. And it's just got a lot of heart and a lot of cleverness, and I love the way it feels. It's so smooth, and as far as all of the design elements involved, I'm so in love with the cleverness of your life being tied in with the time that you have to finish your loop. I want people to have this game on their radar. Echo Weaver is gonna be in my top 10 when it comes out. Like,
I mean, there's a quote here from the Indie Informer on the Steam page that says, "Brilliant. Echo Weaver is going to be a Game of the Year contender whenever it hits."
Yeah. And that was years ago, and I still feel that way. I feel even more having played it this year.
But yeah, so it's not on the eShop just yet, so we don't know if it's coming to Switch or Switch 2, but it is on Steam with a release date of to be announced. I've been watching the trailer the entire time you've been talking, and it's funny because when you were talking, certain things lined up perfectly. It was like weird. I was like, I could not edit the video better than the way you're describing it right now. And how like it was perfectly timed with everything that was going on. You're like, oh, and you could even teleport, and it showed the guy like teleporting, and I'm like, what? But,
I did have a little bit of discussion with the developer being like, how do you discuss a game in which unraveling secrets is the main component of it and get people excited about it? And they're like, yeah, it's really hard. Sometimes we just have to be like, okay, we'll just show them and hope that it's like out in the open, no one really gets that it's going to be like this secret thing until they get there and then they're like, oh, okay, it's wild you guys put that in the trailer.
Yeah, it's it looks like it controls incredibly well. So that's something that I would love to get my hands on. There is a demo on
Yeah, go
Steam if
play
you
it.
want to check that out. But yeah, I don't know if you have any insight into when that's coming out, but hopefully they get a Switch
Nothing I
SKU at
can
some point.
say.
Oh,
It's
okay.
funny the amount of people who get way too comfortable with you when you're at like a Day of the Devs situation where it's like very public and everyone's just kind of chatting. And they're like, don't say this out loud, but here's some information. I'm like, don't tell me that, please. But
Well, that is Echo Weaver, a time loop Metroid Brainia. Still don't know how I feel about that.
I love it.
But I think the game looks sick. So yeah, definitely check that out.
Yeah.
And if you want to play it before it's even listed on the eShop, if it even comes to the eShop, we still don't know 100% that it is, but it looks like a very Switch style, Switch coded game, I would say.
The developer's been on eShop before with other games. I'd be so shocked if it didn't come eventually or day of, but
Well, my next game is absolutely coming to Switch 2, and that is from Drinkbox Studios. So this is the studio that did Severed, which is a game that I actually really enjoyed. It's one of the few games that you can only play in handheld mode on your Switch because it's touchscreen controlled. But they also did Nobody Saves the World, Guacamelee, both 1 and 2. It is a game called Blighted. And this is a kind of like an isometric action RPG. It's kind of top-down Zelda-y, but it has a lot of Souls-like style elements where, there's like a stamina bar, there's different abilities you can do. There's like drop-in, I don't know if it's drop-in, drop-out, but like, you can play it single player, you can play it co-op, it's all the same progress. But like, big challenging boss battles. And then like basically the whole story is like, your character comes from this village where in their culture, when somebody dies, they take a seed of a tree and plant it in their brain before they bury them. Then when that person, after many years, that tree sprouts and eventually bears fruit. And then the people can go up and eat that fruit. And in this culture, when they eat that fruit that has been born out of this person's brain, they can experience the memories of their ancestors. And it's like, oh, that's kind of a cool concept. And basically what happens is there's this evil guy in the world who learns that if he just goes to this village and rather than eating the fruit, just eats their brains directly, he can amass their powers. And like every time he eats somebody's brain, he gets more powerful. But also every time he eats somebody's brain, you're not supposed to do that. And he starts getting taken over by blight, hence the name Blighted. So he does it enough because he just keeps wanting more and more power that he becomes this grotesque monster. But he eats everybody's brain in your character's village except for you. You're the sole survivor, and your culture, your village has been completely wiped out. So you're on this mission to take this guy down and reclaim your culture and reclaim your village and rescue what is left of your people.
Yeah.
And so in order to do this, you start going around and you go on this journey. You realize you're not strong enough. So you start taking on these grotesque giant bosses, and each one has a special ability. And when you take them down, you eat their brains. And you slowly start sacrificing parts of your humanity in exchange for getting more powerful as you beat these bosses. You get new powers, new abilities, all this stuff. And it's really an interesting, it seems like they're going to go for a really interesting narrative that's talking about how people sometimes in a slavish pursuit of, going after what they want so hard, they become the thing that they hate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a really interesting story to tell there. I love the idea of trying to reclaim a culture that has been stolen. And there's so many interesting ways this story could go. But the gameplay itself also is incredibly solid. The top-down isometric style is I vastly prefer that in a lot of scenarios. This seems like it's perfect, tailor-made for that. and the gameplay feels very nimble. The upgrade system seems like it's pretty robust, and there's also a system where like if you just go on a roll and you're taking out enemies left and right, you start like you develop like this really interesting visual effect, and like the blight on you starts like basically glowing and attracting more enemies. So the enemies become stronger, they become more aggressive, there's more of them. They might be like leveled up versions of who they normally would be if they spawned on when you were like not in this special state, but the rewards are also substantially better. So it's like a higher risk reward if you're doing really good and like you haven't died in a while. So that's a really cool concept. I'm excited to see how that is, and how that like impacts gameplay. But yeah, I mean, I don't think this has a release date. I think it's still like TBA. But Drinkbox has put out incredible games. I know people who said Nobody Saves the World was their game of the year when that came out. Like, that's a beloved game. I already mentioned about my love for Severed. I know a lot of people really love the Guacamelee series. Speaking of like, Metroidvania indies. But yeah, Jill, did you get a chance to check this out?
Yeah, I actually played this at Summer Game Fest. So I got to play a little bit of it. It's surprisingly full of secrets as well. Like going through the levels, I know a lot of people tend to kind of slide through so they can get as much as possible. But I'm just like, what's going on around this rock? Which made the developers very happy at the time. And so there's a lot to kind of play around with just in exploration. The game is beautiful. Y'all need to check out this art style. And there's something that's going to be so tragic about the idea that the last surviving person of this village who could possibly just leave revenge alone, go out and rebuild and teach traditions and bring up a new generation, has decided, no, revenge is the only way for me. I have to punish this person, and therefore by his own actions become the last nail in the coffin for themselves and their entire way of life. So really cool narrative ideas, exploration ideas, and the combat is really fun.
Yeah, I had a really great time with it, and I'm looking forward to playing that whenever it comes out. But they did confirm it is coming to Switch 2 and other major platforms, so no need to speculate on that one. But Jill, what have you got for us next?
Okay, I'm going to shout out TetherGeist, which is coming to Switch, so no one has to worry. I don't know when, but they did.
Oh.
Hello.
You have a needy junior editor.
Junior editor has decided that she needs attention immediately. TetherGeist is a game that I discovered on the show floor of PAX West, I want to say last year. PAX West, PAX East, one of them. And you know how these kind of go. A lot of the times you have these appointments that you never get out of. I like to sweep the show floor as much as humanly possible, but I was very busy that year. And the fact that I was caught by this and had to stop and play it and tell everybody about it is such a testament to how good this game is. It is a precision platformer where you are guided by your spirit guide, which is an axolotl. I love him. And the idea is you're trying to master a specific power that is taught only by your people. And it's kind of your coming of age moment, and you're worried about that. So you've got all of the tension involved in that sort of scenario. But the gameplay, oh my gosh, it is so like, it's fluid, but it's also, it's a puzzle it's a precision platformer, but it's almost a puzzle game in the way that you have to sit there and go, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And you get this beautiful like ability to kind of see what's ahead of you so you can plan it out, because once you go, there's no stopping and thinking. You have to hit, go through, get everything exactly right. And when you do, it is so unbelievably good feeling. You feel so like you are the master of games, you are the gamer. It is a great feeling to get to the end of one of these. And they are so clever in the way that they have different mechanics that are sort of, sometimes you're doing one thing, sometimes you're doing another thing, and you have to like tell your brain to switch. It's almost like patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time. But you can get it down, and then it's just amazing to get through. I loved this game when I first saw it. I'm so happy to see it again at GDC. I know that currently it says coming soon, and I really do hope that it is coming soon because it is such a game to play.
Again, I'm watching the trailer. This looks exactly like my kind of game. Like, I'm bummed I didn't know about this sooner, but I'm also kind of happy I didn't know about it sooner because hopefully that means I don't have as long to wait. Because this is a type of game where I would play it and I'd be like, all right, I want to play more of this. And then I'd have to wait until God knows when.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this looks incredible.
Another good reason to have, you know, the Indie Informer come on and tell you about all these games you've never heard about. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I come to you, Jill, aside from you're just a very pleasant human being.
Oh, thank you so much. No, but seriously, I want more people to check this game out and to play this game because it is so, so good.
So it's not listed on the eShop just yet, but you're saying that it's confirmed for the Switch?
Yes, it did have a release kind of recently, and I want to say it was the Indie World, but it's not because not everything can be there. So
no, I would have remembered this because I think I covered pretty much every game that was on the Indie World stream. But yeah, this looks amazing, and it looks like such an intense experience. Like, it looks like if you were a fan of Celeste, this looks like it could be up your alley with a very cool gimmick mixed in. But it's like that level of like precision platforming.
Yeah, it was announced a month ago.
Okay, great. Well, hopefully it is coming out soon. If they're announcing new platforms, hopefully that is a good indication that we're coming up on some sort of news. I don't know. Like that, I've kind of become like distrustful of especially indie games when they're going to come out because, like, to their credit, indie developers, I think, are less likely to crunch than AAA developers. I would much rather them not crunch than get the game out faster. I'd much rather, the people who make my entertainment enjoy a quality of life that is, comparable to what you should have.
And to not have to miss out on things that they want in order to bring their vision to you as well. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they are just ready off the cuff. I've seen this game for a bit now, so I'm like, if it's coming out, it's going to be soon. I feel like it's not years out at this point.
I hope so. I hope you're right. But so that is quote unquote coming soon to Switch and at least PC, but probably all the platforms. If it's coming to Switch and PC, it usually means it's also coming to PlayStation and Xbox, even if in a delayed release cadence.
This episode is brought to you by Peloton. Step up your sweat with the Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus. Swivel your screen 360 degrees and follow your favorite instructors on and off your tread. Track your form and reps with the movement tracking camera. Feel supported as you train on the cushioned slap belt and move to the beat with Sound by Sonos. Elevate your workouts with the Cross Training Tread Plus.
All right, so from one precision platformer to the next, Jill, one of the first major indie releases, I think, when you look at like this current indie wave, and by current indie wave I mean dating back to like 20 years ago.
Long way.
Super Meat Boy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
One of the formative in the current form of indie games and the indie game space. Super Meat Boy was one of the heavy hitters that like really put indie games like on the level with like AAA games, like shoulder to shoulder. I did not like Super Meat Boy forever. I never played the other spin-off that they did starring like the villain. Mm-hmm. I basically had resigned myself to thinking, okay, well, that was a once in a lifetime thing. Edmund McMillan is no longer involved with Team Meat. So he must have had that secret sauce. That was kind of the thinking that I had coming in to my demo with Super Meat Boy 3D. I left this demo thinking, okay, we might be back, because I think Super Meat Boy, the original one on Xbox Live Arcade, one of the greatest platformers of this century. That's how I feel about Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy 3D almost feels like going from Super Mario World to Super Mario 64.
Yeah.
There's even an homage to Super Mario 64 at the beginning of the demo. I played through the entire first world, and it starts with like kind of like a camera coming in, and then a green pipe comes out of the ground, similar to the beginning of Super Mario 64. But instead of coming out of it, Meat Boy comes from like above and drops down. And it's just like, why was there even that green pipe there? It's just like a goofy, like tip of the cap. But yeah, so like it's in a 3D plane, and it starts off nice and easy, but like soon enough, you know, you're going to be getting chopped in half and thrown down into pits and knocked over by enemies.
So many times.
It very much has that feel that the original Super Meat Boy gave you, where it's like, all right, you die, you immediately respawn back at the start, and now it's time to go again. And you slowly start figuring out, okay, well, if I do this, I can get through this one part, but then how do I get to this next part? And then you keep piecing it together, and then you finally make it to the end. And they do the thing that they did in the original Super Meat Boy, where they give the replay showing all of the clones at the same time. And one by one, you watch them all fall off until you see the one that actually succeeded get all the way to the end. And that is such a fun, like, gameplay, like visual hook that the original game did, and now this is doing to great effect as well. And they play with the fact that like you don't really think that it's in a 3D space sometimes. So like a lot of times the camera's behind you and you're running through kind of like Mario Odyssey style, where it's like it's just following you and you just run through the levels. And it's like, okay, my brain tells me that's in a 3D space. There was one where it was like this really like thorny, like wooded area, and I kept jumping. But for this one, the camera was swung out to the side. So my brain immediately went to like old school Super Meat Boy, and I was jumping, I was air dashing and like going all over the place. And I finally made it through without using the way you're supposed to do it. And like even the demoer was like, that's really impressive. You're not supposed to be able to do that. Like the way that you're supposed to do it. Do you want me to tell you? And I'm like, yeah, I already did it. So like, tell me. He's like, it's a 3D space. Behind you is a wall. So what you could do, instead of me having to like precision air dash all the way around these thorns and like barely making it every single time, I could just slide down the wall in the background, and that would slow my descent enough that I could just like navigate these thorns. And I'm like, I didn't even think about that because it flipped to the 2D perspective. So I immediately just fell back into my old Super Meat Boy habits of like, okay, well, I have to do like these really precise jumps. And I was just like, man, that was a sharp difficulty spike. And like, this is the first world. I can't believe how hard this is. And then when the demoer explained that, I was like, oh, of course. That's why. It's like the learning experience. You're not supposed to get through this without using that back wall. I just happened to get through it because I was persistent and stubborn, and I've played platformers for the past 35 years. But yeah, I mean, I really, really came away impressed by Super Meat Boy 3D, and I don't know when it's coming out. They say it's this year. There are reports indicating that it could be sooner rather than later. So, I mean, I'm seeing some say it could be as early as this month, which I don't know if they're going to do that, but, you know, stranger things have happened. But I would be happy if it just comes out in the next couple of months, but we'll have to wait and see. But it is coming to Switch 2 and all the other platforms. Jill, any thoughts on this one? Oh, Jill, I think you're muted.
Oops, sorry.
There we go.
Yeah, no, I had a very similar experience to you. I played this back at PAX West. I loved the feel of it. I was not a fan of the kind of more recent Super Meat Boy games. And this one I had a great time with, even though I was dying over and over again. And I did have that moment of like, oh no, they've tricked me that this is a 3D space, not a 2D space, and I could have used my surroundings. And yeah, I 100% agree with you. I am looking forward to this when it pops out.
And it feels good because now I can actually be excited about something from Super Meat Boy because, like I said, like I had almost given up hope that kind of the magic was ever going to return, and now it seems like it might be back. So
the magic of meat that dies over and over and over again.
That magic meat. So Jill, you have two more. I have one more, which you know what that means. It is your turn. Give me your second to last.
So this is one that you said you are also not very familiar with. I want to shout out Fishbowl. This is a narrative adventure game. You are playing as Aloe, and she has just moved away from basically everything she knows to new city. She's just graduated college. She's new into her job. She's in her career. She just barely started. Everything is kind of exciting, but at the same time, like scary and new and foreign to her. And she's not, in the comfort of what she's familiar with. And sort of on top of all of this, very recently, her matriarchal grandmother has passed away. And so she is feeling the consequences of that and not being near her family at this time. And so you get in the demo, it's a really hard game to like see demo at things where you have to kind of sit and go at a slower pace and sort of understand what's happening and get feelings, but you really do in a very quick amount of time. And she goes through kind of her daily life, and she like, I almost get PTSD because there's one thing that's like a video editor is kind of her job. So you go into a mini game that's video editing.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm watching the trailer.
Don't make me do this. But it is a lot more fun than that. And you talk with some of her friends, you talk with some of her family, you see what she's going through in life, and you see how kind of unfulfilled and busy, but like not fulfilled at the moment that she's feeling, when at your doorstep appears a box. The box is full of your grandmother's old things, what she has left to you. And sort of in an unpacking kind of way, you have to puzzle your way into the bottom of this, where you find a old fish toy. It's kind of like I want to say like a wind-up toy that is very cute and very like, oh, I forgot about this. This is something from my past. And she puts it in a corridor and kind of forgets about it. And then she has this dream about seeing the end of her grandmother's life and what it was like, and not being there when she passed, and having all of these really harsh emotions to suddenly the green field opens up and you're with her when you're a child, and you're picking flowers for her, and it's this amazing memory. And then all of a sudden the fish appears, and it wakes you up and you realize the fish is talking to you in real life. So now you're like, oh, I'm going insane. This fish toy is talking to me. And it's going to be just this really beautiful exploration of all of these intertwining things that are happening in her life at this exact moment. And it's beautiful. And even in a very short demo, you already feel very connected with everything that is happening with her. And I cannot wait to see where the story goes, because it's going to hurt me in such a good way.
Well, here's how you know it's going to hurt you. The studio is called I Miss My Friends Studio. And
they are so delightful as well, as just as human beings, the developers. If you ever get a chance to meet them, please do. But oh man, this game is coming out April 2nd, and it's going to break my heart.
Is this coming to Switch?
I don't think that it is
at
officially.
First, at least.
But it's just like, this is such a Switch game. There's no way I can see it not coming.
It looks like it is going to make me cry.
Yeah. Wholesome Games is partly publishing, and I can't see Switch not picking this up, because it is going to be such an emotional, amazing time for the Switch.
Well, I will definitely check that out, especially if it comes to Switch. Right now, I think it looks like it's just coming to Steam and PS5. But I'll maybe check it out on PS5, and then if it comes to Switch, I'll give my full impressions when the time comes. But yeah, April 2nd. Some of these games are right around the corner. I'm super excited about this.
Yeah.
But I have one more game. And Jill, I think you have checked this one out as well. And it was one that I did not know about until I went to this Xbox Indies, or the ID at Xbox Partner Showcase, whatever. They changed the name of this thing like 4 times.
Yeah.
So Screenbound is what this one is called. And it is such a love letter to the Nintendo games of old that I would be utterly stunned if it doesn't come to Switch. Right now, I think it's just Xbox and PC. But it is basically, the story is you're looking for your mom, and like you find this Q Boy, it's called, and it's very obviously an homage to a Game Boy. And you're walking through these levels, and in the character's like first person view, you are walking through these levels in first person, and you have the Q Boy in front of your, like at the bottom like quarter of your screen is the Q Boy, and you can see that what you are running through, you can also see it from the 2D perspective. So like if you're running like in through the world, and like you're on a bridge, you can look at the Q Boy and you're like, oh, there's a secret under the bridge. I should drop down in the 3D world and then I can grab those items. Or sometimes there are things that you can't see in the real world that you can only see in the Q Boy. So like I'm doing a platforming area and it's like, oh, how do I get up there? And I look at the Q Boy, it's like, oh, there's a ladder. I can't see that. And then you can use the Q Boy to scan it and it'll show the ladder in the world. So, and you can even like readjust the perspective. So it's like if you're going one direction, you can, and you want the 2D to flip to a different perspective, you can do that by going to these terminals. And when you go into these terminals, it flips to 100% 2D. So you're doing like these quick little like platforming challenges. So did that, super fun. That's cartridge 1. I got to play a second cartridge as well. And this one, I didn't get to play this one, actually. I got to play the first one. The second one was hands off. But cartridge 1 is kind of like a Mario Land type of homage with like 3D element in the first person view. Cartridge 2 is basically Zelda. And so the second cartridge is more of a like action adventure game where you have a sword and you're going through and like, you know, you're in first person in like the main view. And then on your Q Boy, it's like a top down Zelda game almost. So you're like controlling him and you see how it is from like the top down perspective. And there's like dungeons you can go and do in this. And like, you know, there's the typical Zelda stuff where like an enemy will shoot something at you and you can swing your sword to like kind of like tennis rally it back to them. And this got me like, I got excited for this concept because I'm like, oh, you guys could do more cartridges. And they told me that they're right now only working on these 2 cartridges. But I was like, I've got ideas, guys. My 2 ideas where cartridge 3 could be in like the main area, like the 3D space. It's like a Star Fox style game. Yeah. And then on the Q Boy, it's like R-Type where it's like a side scrolling space shooter. And then the other one was in like the 3D space, it's like Mario Kart. And then on the 2D space, it's like Excite Bike. So I got excited pitching ideas to these guys. And if they take any of my ideas, I'm suing them for everything they're worth. No, I'm just kidding. I would be very excited.
I would be excited too, but I really don't want you to do that because this game has been around for some time. It made a big splash years ago and then it got really quiet. And when an indie game makes a big splash and then it gets really quiet, it makes me very nervous because you never know with an indie game if so many things can go wrong and they don't typically have the sort of safety net that a lot of AAAs do. So seeing it at that event, I was so glad to see it again. I was so glad that it seems like the team is excited and they're happy with what they're doing and feeling good about the future progress. But yeah, it is a really cool concept that, you know, there are so many good concepts that don't work in real life, but in actually playing it, it is such a cool thing to be constantly going back and forth in your brain between like, let me look at my screen, let me look at the real world, let me look at my screen, let me look at the real world.
It kind of gave me like, and this is a terrible comparison, but like I think it works. Zombie U, if you ever played that on your Wii U, you know, the Wii U had the gamepad, which had the second screen. And what would happen is, you know, you'd have a zombie, like you'd see the zombie on your main screen, like walking slowly towards you. And you're trying to like hack into like a safe or like like open a lock or something. So you have to look down at your like physical second screen and like enter in like a number that you saw on like a piece of paper earlier, or like pick a lock or something. All the while you're looking up at your main screen and this zombie is just getting closer and closer. And it had such a stressful feel to it. This doesn't really have a stressful feel, but it does have that feeling of like, I need to keep my eyes on both screens at the same time, even though it's a single screen experience technically.
Right. Because there were a lot of times when I'm just looking at the main 3D world in front of me and I'm like, I really don't know what I'm supposed to do. And then I'm like, duh, I'm supposed to look at
I
the
know.
screen that's like, oh, there's a door right here I could
You have to
go in.
rewire your brain a little bit. And it's funny because I saw people, because I was playing it up on a screen, I saw people playing it on the Xbox Rogue Ally.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, this is breaking my brain because it's like a second screen within my within my handheld screen. It's like I have a handheld device inside of my handheld device.
Yep.
And it's like really, really like people were like kind of coming away that experience like mind blown.
And it's really good, so y'all should check it out.
They told me that it is coming Q3 or Q4 of this year, so like the latter half of 2026. But yeah, you know, there were different items like in the platforming area. You can get like a boomerang to attack enemies, or you can just jump on them like Mario style. But then in the Zelda thing, like I got like kind of like a grapple hook, so it's like a little bit of a hook shot action from Zelda. So they're definitely leaning into it, and seems like they're doing some really cool stuff with it. So look forward to that. Hopefully it comes to Switch, but if not, you know, it'll be on seemingly PC and Xbox. But Jill, that brings us to the final game we are going to be talking about, and it is your move. What do you have?
I have Toem 2. Which is definitely coming to the Switch.
Yes.
I ended strong for you. Toem 2, obviously a sequel to the original Toem. This time around, the art style has changed slightly, so it is a more 3D-esque situation, whereas the original had mostly 2D characters and settings, but you could change the camera around a little bit. For this one, the 3D is really, everyone is in 3D, and it really matters what you're doing with the camera because there are going to be secrets hidden behind certain vantage points that you might not see otherwise. But if you didn't play Toem, the original, it is an adventure game where you are essentially taking pictures to help people. It is such a kind, loving sort of game. If you are perhaps in a world that feels harsh and hopeless sometimes, it is so nice to just go into a game where it's like the entire point of this game is, well, at least for the first one, the point of the game was you were going on a trip to see Toem, which is this kind of phenomena that happens in the world. And to get there, you're riding on a bike or a bus, and to get the bus ticket, you have to help other people. And that's really all it's about, is just getting to a level. They have such fun, like, humor where you walk in and suddenly there's like a ghost horse and it wants to look the most beautiful it's ever looked in its life. And it's like, okay, that's what we're doing now.
Gotta respect it.
Yeah, you got to. It's so good, and it's got humor, but the humor's not at anyone's expense. It's just about discovering and the love of discovery, enjoying taking the pictures that you take and taking up challenges in weird and interesting ways. I think for this one, the world that I played through had a very like medieval sort of tone to it, where you like go up to a tower and you try to find a princess, but like no one's there, so you're trying to figure out what the heck this princess is doing. Or like there's a wizard, but he's really not actually magical at all, just thinks that he is. And it's beautiful and lovely, and it's a great world to be in.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who loved that first Toem. I have actually not played it.
Oh no, Branch A. You've got time, because this is coming out in Q3 of 2026.
You're
so
right.
like,
I have nothing but time. It's like you on your flight to PAX East. You know, you have
Exactly.
nothing. All you have to do
Nothing
is
is happening.
kick back. You have 6 hours on a plane from San Francisco to Boston. Kick back, watch all 3 Sonic movies. You might even be able to squeeze in a couple episodes of the Knuckles Paramount Plus show.
There we go. And you'll just be playing
And
Toem.
I'll be playing Toem. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, Toem 2 is one that I think that people are going to be extremely excited about. I'm glad to hear that you seem to think highly of it. But yeah, I mean, I wish I had more to contribute to Toem, but unfortunately I do not.
Okay, next time when I come for Indie Gem of the Year, we're going to put Toem 2 and we're going to discuss whether or not you played it.
Hopefully it comes out, because we've seen some delays.
Don't put that juju on us. Come on now.
Knock on wood.
Protein is now at Starbucks, and it's never tasted so good. You can add protein cold foam to your favorite drink or try one of our new protein lattes or matcha. Try it today at Starbucks.
But that, I think, are a good collection of 10 great indies that we got to see while we were at GDC. But to close out, you know what else I did while I was at GDC? A bunch of stuff I can't talk about.
Oh my
but
gosh.
one thing I can talk about to close us out here is a field trip that I took while I was in San Francisco. I was invited to an after-hours party at a studio that I talk about on this show all the time. So I hopped into an Uber. It only took about 20 minutes. Got to Digital Eclipse, the studio behind Atari 50, Mega Man Legacy Collection, TMNT Cowabunga Collection, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, which surprised I said that without stumbling all over myself, because that is a tongue twister.
Good job.
Incredible studio. You know, I feel like I've seen a lot of game studios. I visit video game studios, I'd say, like on average, like every other month. This one stood above a lot of them. You know, a lot of them kind of are a little bit sterile, and then you'll have like a display case, or you'll have like, you know, a couple statues. This one was incredible. So you walk in, the first thing on the right is a full arcade and a full bar. And I'm like, oh, that's a little bit different. And that's where everybody was congregated. But then I got the full tour. Walk upstairs. There's, you know, all the offices, the display cases. You know, they all these offices, because like this team is so devoted to the history of video games. All of their offices feel like mini museums, and like, you know, all kinds of relics from gaming's past and everything, with the one exception being Mike Mika, who is the studio head. His office is not a mini museum. It's a huge museum. Like it rivals like any scene that you ever saw at the Game Informer office in terms of just the sheer number of like artifacts from gaming's history, like collectibles, like statues, like retro games, just like stacked on shelves, like shelves from floor to ceiling, like tall ceilings too, jam-packed full of just all kinds of retro stuff. It was incredible. And it, you know, it's such a cool spot to hang out in that people were just in there like sipping on drinks and just like chatting alongside him, you know, and they're just all just hanging out in his office. And it was incredible. You know, I got to see all their different spaces that they have. I also, while I was on this field trip, got to visit the Video Game History Foundation, which was incredible to see as well. The founder and director, Frank Cifaldi, was there, and he showed me around. Very nice of him. They have, you know, all kinds of different like things that they've either gotten from studios or copied from studios that have donated like different like pitch documents and design documents and all kinds of stuff. Just the most complete collection of like documenting the history of our medium in the world. I can't imagine there's one better than this. They also have several full runs of different magazines, including Game Informer. So honestly, like it kind of hit me a little bit, like in the middle of being in this tour, like what a huge honor it is to, you know, you're in there too, Jill, but like have our writing included in the most advanced catalog of video game history on the planet. Like that's kind of like an incredible honor that I think that like it really kind of made me a little bit emotional while I was in there. But I did take a picture of the Game Informer section, which they have both issue 1 in like a hard sleeve, and then also they have the first issue back, which if you're watching the video version, you can see over Jill's shoulder, which is our Borderlands 4 issue. They had both of those on display, and then all the other ones were on the shelves because, you know, I guess that's the start of the original era of Game Informer and then the start of the new era. So very cool of them. I know that they also have a lot of stuff that they got from the Game Informer offices back before in our previous era.
When I was interning.
They were embedded in the Game Informer office, I think, for 5 weeks. Just like documenting all the cool stuff that we had around our office.
You could walk past them and they hadn't moved. You know,
it was just incredible. I went to have drinks with Frank and his former co-director Kelsey, who runs Pink Gorilla Games out in Seattle now, and she's also over on MinMax quite frequently. I went out for drinks with them afterwards, and they were just like, wow, that was a task. Like, what a monumental undertaking that was. But like, I got to see like all the stuff that they had documented from Game Informer at the Video Game History Foundation. And, it was really neat. And I'm so glad that they are doing the work that they are doing. And again, an absolute honor to see like stuff that I have done documented in there. Like, I never thought that would be the case.
Yeah, there are always those weird moments in this industry where you are made to stop and look and actually like recognize what it is you're doing, and that sounds like definitely a big one.
Definitely. So yeah, like nothing super eventful like happened while I was doing that, but it was like, a super cool time. Met a lot of really awesome people. And, I know that most people never really have an opportunity to visit a video game studio. So I figured I would, share my experience, especially since I think that my listeners want to strangle me every time I bring up Digital Eclipse because I sing their praises so frequently. But yeah, just wanted to shout them out. Big ups to Digital Eclipse for not only doing great work, but also having me out to their party after one of the days of GDC. But Jill, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of All Things Nintendo.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun.
And thank you so much to everyone for listening. As you know, the Patreon and its associated Discord server are the best ways to get any questions or comments in, but you can also reach me at brian@allthingsnintendo.com or hit me up on Blue Sky or Instagram at Brian P. Shea. Jill, tell everyone where they can find you online.
You can check out my work at theindieinformer.com. That's the best way to do it. We also have a Patreon. It's Patreon in the Indie Corner, probably. And if you want to check me out on Blue Sky, it's at the Indie Informer for work. If you want to connect with me personally for some odd reason, it's at Finruin, FINRUIN.
That is our show for this week. Thank you again for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time. Hey everyone, thank you so much for sticking through to the end of the episode. I know it went long, but before we get out of here, I just want to give a special shout out to the $10 patrons of the All Things Nintendo podcast. Alex Stadnick, Andy Junkins, Ben Richland, Chad Brecky, Chaps My Ass, Derek Sigmund, Dusty Beeman, Ian T. Clark, Jawar Hello, Johnny Five, Jose Villalobos, Joshua DeProy, KC Radio Man, Cody Gibson, Creeper207, Ozman83, Paul at Drunk on Mako, Cradible, Rob McCann, Bobby Mac 265, Robert Sosa, Roberto Nieves, Roger Reichert, Russell Sayer, Smithy Poo, Zane Sink, and Zek 3 Sword Sama. Thank you so much for your continued support of this show. We are out.
Woo, we did it.
We did it. Whew, that was a marathon, but we did it.
That was a heck of a show. I'm sorry. Every time I come on, it's like, no, we're going to talk for 2 hours.
That's why I have you on. That's why you're here, because you bring the heat.
Oh, yeah.
Is it hot out in San Francisco today?
It's 90 today.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was 48 here, which is warm for Minnesota.
It's not okay, first of all. Second of all, going to Boston next week, I've already looked at the weather and I shouldn't have, because I'm like, I'm not going to be like, the weather should be older than me. That's
the weather should be older than me. What?
So anything in the 20s, I'm not playing around with that, and they're trying to make me.
What do you mean the weather should be older than me?
Yeah, the weather, like, there is a number at which the weather stops being weather and starts just being ridiculous. So it needs to be higher, like preferably like decades higher than I am. So like, let's hit the 50s and 60s at all times.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
The number needs, if you converted the Fahrenheit temperature to a year of an age consisting of years. So we're not only
should never be in the partying 20s.
This is a lot of units of measurement. So what is like in Minnesota sometimes it gets down to -40.
No,
is that
and I experienced that, and it was not fun, but that's the extent of my love carried me through,
Well, this is an interesting insight into how you operate here, Jill.
No, people made fun of me because I literally was never seen without a coat. I'm just like, I am so cold. I am never, ever going to warm up again.
Well, the weather was just too young.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It needs to age up a little bit.
All right. Well, I guess Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't go out in anything hotter than 25 degrees.
Exactly. He's a very cold weather kind of person.
Clearly.
Every hero strikes out on their adventure for a different reason.
To prove myself worthy of my mother's praise.
To write my own story and discover who I really am.
To prove to my family that I am more than they believe me to be.
To revive the god that has chosen me.
But when the fragile balance of the world is in jeopardy, and sinister forces move in the darkness, heroes will be tested, pushed to their limits and beyond. And it will be left to them to determine if they are up to the task. There is a darkness rising. Will they be able to overcome the challenges and meet this evil head-on?
For my god.
For my story.
For my freedom.
For the world.
To restore the balance. Modified Role Season 2, The Chronicles of Erin, a D&D 5e actual play podcast. New season, new characters, new story. Find us on all the usual podcasting apps or at modifiedrole.com.